لا إله إلا الله محمد رسول الله.
Dearest viewers, once again, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. I welcome you all to another episode of Misconceptions Removed, a program we believe will have a positive impact on your understanding of Islam. I am Wanika Said, your host. Today, we're going to be dispelling the belief, the notion that Islam allows the killing of non-Muslims. It is widely spread by the inherent critics of Islam that Islam permits the killing of non-Muslims, and to justify this, they do have certain verses of the Holy Quran which they quote. The reasons why this is said, all that is going to be discussed and assessed in this very subject. Sheikh Adam Hamid is once again my guest to take us through this subject. You are most welcome, sir. It is also a pleasure to meet you once again. Sheikh Adam Hamid, before we preface our discussion, I find it imperative to give a clear picture to our viewers about the subject of our discussion today. If we say that Islam, that the critics of Islam have time and again said it, that Islam permits the killing of non-Muslims, one who is viewing us or watching this program there might not understand what we are talking about. Therefore, I would read some of the statements which have been written by these critics. I will begin reading a statement from the Florida Time Union web page. This was written after the terrorist attacks in France some few years in the past. The writer wrote and said, "We are told Islam is a religion of peace. Anyone telling you that Islam is a peaceful religion is just engaged in uninformed wishful thinking or is deliberately trying to deceive you. Islam is not a religion of peace at all. The perpetrators of terrorism are following the edicts clearly given in the Holy Quran, and the verses that constitute the Holy Quran are there. The Holy Quran dictates repeatedly that its followers must convert you to Islam or kill you if you refuse to convert." Then again, another critic called Winston Churchill wrote that how dreadful are the curses which Mohammedanism lays on its votaries. In the video, Muslims might show splendid qualities, but the influence of religion paralyzes the social development of those who follow it. No stronger retrograde force exists in this world. Those are some of the few critical statements written by non-Muslim critics of Islam. He spoke of verses in the Holy Quran. There is a verse that I would like to refer to. That is chapter 9, verse 5 of the Holy Quran. It is often used and quoted by the critics of Islam. The verse says, "And when the forbidden month have passed, kill the idolaters wherever you find them, and take them prisoners, and beleaguer them, and lie in wait for them at every place of ambush." That is one of the verses of the Holy Quran which these people use. From the Muslim fraternity, we have different scholars giving different interpretations about such verses. Before I engage you thoroughly in this subject, let us first of all hear what Ahmadi Muslim scholars have to say about such a verse. Sheikh Zaki Ahmed Tamzadeh, I certainly believe you have been joining. I thus grant you this opportunity to throw more light on this point.
أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. We should remember that the first verses were all revealed at once. And these verses were given Hazrat Ali to read them out to the people present at that time during the farewell pilgrimage of the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. So it is incumbent upon us that whenever we are doing tafsir or deliberating on the meanings of this verse, to consider all of them together. Not to bring out one of the verses and we comment on it. The question is valid if we consider only that verse. But if you read all these verses together, you will know that the answers are within the ruku, the first ruku of Suratul Tauba, and even some verses of the second ruku. If you read the beginning of Surah At-Tawbah, it says, Bara'atun min Allahi wa rasulihi ila alladhina ahadtum min al-mushrikeen. Now we are discussing not all pagans, not all disbelievers, not all mushrikeen here, but ila alladhina ahadtum min al-mushrikeen. We are discussing those pagans, those idolaters with whom the Muslims made agreement. They made some treaties. Not all of them. So, إِلَى الَّذِينَ عَاهَدتُّم مِّنَ الْمُشْرِكِينَ is bringing out a subject matter that is not referring to all mushrikeen, to all idolaters, but only to those with whom Muslims entered into treaty. So we have to put this into our minds when we are going to interpret verses that are following this verse of Surah Tauba. And in verse number 4 or 5, the Holy Quran says, إِلَّا الَّذِينَ عَاهَدتُّم مِّنَ الْمُشْرِكِينَ ثُمَّ لَمْ يَنْقُصُوكُمْ شَيْئًا. That the permission given to Muslims to fight here, it is with some limits. And the whole Quran says, إِلَّا الَّذِينَ عَاهَدتُّم مِّنَ الْمُشْرِكِينَ, except those of the idolaters with whom you have entered treaty, ثُمَّ لَمْ يَنْقُصُوكُمْ, and they did not break anything of your treaty. وَلَمْ يُظَاهِرُوا عَلَيْكُمْ أَحَدًا, and they did not help anyone else to fight against the Muslims. Now here are the exceptions in the permission given to Muslims to fight against the disbelievers, against the idolaters. We are not here talking about idolaters who entered into treaties with Muslims and they did not violate those agreements, that treaty. And they did not help anyone else to fight against the Muslims. So the verse which he's referring to, which the questionnaire is referring to, means that permission is given to fight those idolaters who fought against the Muslims and even violated the treaties which themselves entered with the Muslims. So this is what this is what the verse is referring to. And even if you look at verse number 6, it says that وَإِنْ أَحَدٌ مِّنَ الْمُشْرِكِينَ اسْتَجَارَكَ. You know, that if anyone among the idolaters comes to you seeking for refuge, then grant him the refuge. If all disbelievers and idolaters were to be beheaded and violently killed, then when will we get some of those coming to seek help from the Muslims? It is practically impossible that all of them are killed, but some of them are remaining and they are seeking for help from the Muslims. So, to interpret that verse, which the questionnaire is referring to, that we should kill all Muslims, is completely wrong, and it is even against the context of the Holy Quran, and it is against the entire Holy Quran, because we know very well that those are not the orders of the Holy Quran, that is not the teaching of the Holy Quran, that other people who do not believe like the way the Muslims do should be killed. That is against the Holy Quran, and it is against the context of Surah Tauba itself. One, because here we are talking about specific idolaters, those who have violated the treaties which themselves entered into, and then they even went ahead to help other people to fight against the Muslims. Those are the idolaters that the Holy Quran is referring to, not all idolaters. Jazakumullah and Jaza for giving me this time to say something on this program.
That was clearly and pretty. Well, to those of you who are watching, the program is Misconception Removed. We are looking at the belief, the notion, the ideology that Islam permits Muslims to kill non-Muslims. That is a misconception we are dispelling. With Sheikh Adam Hamid Sembajwe, he's trying to break things for us down. And we have dwelt on the verse 5 of the Holy Quran, chapter 9. And he has clearly explained the true meaning of that verse. He has said, the critics deliberately read that verse, they single it out because they want to make their point home of painting the image of Islam dark. But the best way to understand this verse is you read the first verses and then the verses after. Sheikh Adam Hamid.
Yes, please.
We are still proceeding with our discussion.
Mm-hmm.
You see, when we speak of Muslims not being allowed to kill non-Muslims because of misunderstanding some of the verses of the Holy Quran, as you have rightly explained to our viewers, I would like to ask you a pertinent question. Nowadays we see all over the world there are different terrorist groups that have come out to commit heinous acts against people in the name of Islam. Do they base on such verses of the Holy Quran? And how do you judge them, by the way?
By the way, unfortunately, I accept that there are Muslims who undertake terrorist acts basing on such verses or basing on the wrong interpretation of such verses. And there are also some who do it opportunistically. And they have hidden agendas. They may be economic, they may be political. And they think that if they come out to say that their struggles are political, maybe they will not gain the sympathy that they desire.
All right.
So they hide behind the good name of Islam, and they don't care that they are tarnishing the name of Islam. They present such verses and they commit those terrorist acts. We, as followers of the Imam Mahdi, the reformer of the age, the perfect follower of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, that is Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad, that's why we're out to present and to present the true teaching of Islam, so that we can cleanse Islam of this tarnished image that these people are attempting to put on Islam. So it's our responsibility to give the true teaching of Islam. On this issue, there are numerous verses of the Holy Quran which are very clear. Even we are reading about that verse, which was in chapter 9 of the Holy Quran, Surah Tauba, verse 5.
True.
Where they allege that it is saying that kill non-Muslims. But as we have read, we have understood that these people don't read the context of the verses before and the verses after.
True.
As we have read them, they are very clear that they were talking about those people who violated the treaties of peace which they had made with the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. While the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was true to his commitment to those treaties, these people were violating them. They were attacking the Holy Prophet. They were attacking the Muslims. They attempted to throw out the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So Muslims were also allowed to defend themselves.
All right.
In fact, when we read verse 7, that was verse 5, I read to you verse 6, I want to read to you verse 7 also, talking about those treaties.
Proceed.
Allah the Almighty says, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم كيف يكون للمشرقين أحد عند الله وعند رسوله إلا الذين عاهدتم عند المسجد الحرام فما استقاموا لكم فاستقيموا لهم إن الله يحب المتقين. The translation of which is that how can there be a treaty? Allah the Almighty is saying that how can there be a treaty for those idolaters with Allah and His Messenger, except those with whom you entered into a treaty at a sacred mosque.
Okay.
So as long as they are true to you, be true to them. Surely Allah loves those who fulfill their obligations. So these verses are addressing those who violate the treaties which they had made with the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu. They violate their vows. They violate their obligations. So Islam allows Muslims in such a case to defend themselves when they are attacked. Not only that, when we go to chapter 2 of the Holy Quran in verse 256, it clearly says that La ikraha fi din. There is no compulsion in issues of religion. In no way is a Muslim allowed to attack a non-Muslim simply because he's a non-Muslim. It's not allowed. La ikraha fi din. At another place in the Holy Quran is very clear that فَمَنْ شَاءَ فَلْيُؤْمِنْ وَمَنْ شَاءَ فَلْيَكْفُرْ. Whoever wishes to believe, let him believe. Whoever willingly chooses to be a non-believer, let him be a non-believer. So it is the Holy Quran which guarantees freedom of belief. That if one chooses not to be a Muslim, it is his own choice. And Muslims should defend his right to maintain his choice to be a non-Muslim. We cannot force anybody to become a Muslim. Not only that, when we go to Surat Al-Baqarah, I'm saying there are so many numerous verses which emphasize for Muslims to be peaceful with their non-Muslim brothers and sisters and not to engage in any unnecessary wars or fights with non-Muslims.
All right.
In Surah Baqarah, that is chapter 2 of the Holy Quran, verse 190, Allah the Almighty says, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يسألونك عن الأهلة قل هي مواقيت للناس والحج وليس البر بأن تأتوا البيوت من ظهورها ولكن البر من اتقى وأتوا البيوت من أبوابها واتقوا الله لعلكم تفلحون. That they ask thee about the new moons, say they are means for measuring time, for the general convenience of people and for the pilgrimage. And it is not righteous that you come into the houses of the backs of thereof, but truly righteous is he who fears God, and you should come into houses by the doors thereof and fear Allah that you may prosper. Then verse 191, it says, وَكَاتِلُوا فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ الَّذِينَ يُقَاتِلُونَكُمْ وَلَا تَعْتَدُوا إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُحِبُّ الْمُعْتَدِينَ. That, and fight in the way of Allah against those who fight against you.
Okay.
The Holy Quran only allows. So we should not read that verse in isolation. We should try to understand the full message of the Holy Quran. Verse 191 of Surah Al-Baqarah, that chapter 2, it says, and fight in the way of Allah against those who fight against you, but do not transgress. Surely Allah loves not the transgressors. Right. So the command to fight is only in case if you have been attacked. Then you are allowed to defend yourself. But otherwise, if the non-believers choose to be peaceful, as the Holy Prophet Muhammad chose to be peaceful and he maintained the peace under all circumstances, then there is no reason for a Muslim to take up arms to attack non-Muslims simply because they are not Muslims.
Okay.
Again, the Holy Quran emphasizing the issue of Muslims maintaining peace with non-Muslim brothers and sisters. I will read to you from Surah An-Nisa, that is chapter 4 of the Holy Quran, verse 19, where Allah the Almighty says, except to those who are connected with a people between whom and you there is a pact, and those who come to you while their hearts shrink from fighting you or fighting their own people. And if Allah has so pleased, he could have given them power against you, then they would have surely fought you. So if they keep aloof from you and fight you not and make you an offer of peace, then Allah has allowed you no aggression against them.
All right.
Well clearly, understood. Listen to the last part of that verse when he says that, so if they keep aloof from you, meaning if they don't attack you,
yes,
and fight you not, and make you an offer of peace, then Allah has allowed you no way of aggression against him. So right, if they are non-Muslim, a people or an individual who request you for peace, then as Muslims, you are not allowed to attack.
Definitely.
That is what the Holy Quran teaches us.
Finally,
I want to present one verse which shows that how should Muslims maintain peace with non-Muslims.
All right.
To emphasize the fact that it is the Holy Quran which is indeed teaching Muslims to be as peaceful as possible. In the interest of time, I will not read the Arabic part of this verse, but I will read Surah Al-Mumtahna, that is chapter 60, verse 8 and 9, which says, it may be that Allah will bring about love between you and those of whom with you and those of them with whom you are now at an enmity. That it is possible. It's a possibility which you should try to achieve, that there should be love between you and those who take themselves as enemies to you. And Allah is all powerful, and Allah is most forgiving and merciful, which shows that our effort should be to engage our non-Muslim brothers and sisters to see that there is love and mutual benefit for all.
All right.
Verse 9 of that chapter 60 says, Allah forbids you not respecting those who have not fought against you. Allah forbids you not to respect them.
Yes.
You should not mistreat them.
Yes.
So, Allah forbids you not respecting those who have not fought against you on account of your religion and who have not driven you out from your homes, that you be kind to them. Allah forbids you to mistreat them, but He commands you to treat them kindly. And who have not driven you out from your homes, if they have not committed heinous crimes against you by driving you out of your homes, then be kind to them, be loving to them, behave well with them, that you be kind to them, and deal equitably with them. Surely Allah loves those who are equitable. The Holy Quran is very clear. There is no reason why you should have an enmity against a Christian brother or sister simply because he has chosen to be a Christian or a non-believer or a pagan for that matter. We should always seek the path of peace, reconciliation, love, and respect for each other. That is the commandment of the Holy Quran. This is the basis on which the relationship between Muslims and non-Muslims should be maintained.
Thank you very much, Sheikh Adam Hamid. Lastly, in less than a minute, the Holy Prophet was an embodiment of the Holy Quran.
Yeah.
How did he practically implement this verse when it was revealed?
One, the Holy Prophet, he himself, I've showed you various verses of the Holy Quran which are alluding to the treaties which were signed by the Holy Prophet Muhammad between him and his adversaries, those who were not Muslims, those who chose not to accept Islam. He made treaties of peace with them.
All right.
So practically the Holy Prophet showed that he was seeking peace with everybody without forcing them to become Muslims.
All right.
And then he he was helping everybody without seeing that this is a Muslim or a non-Muslim. It was peace for everybody. The peace that the Holy Prophet Muhammad ﷺ established in Medina, in Arabia at large, was the peace that benefited all, not Muslims alone, but for everybody.
Thank you very much, Sheikh Adam Hamid, for that wonderful elaboration and explanation. I certainly believe our viewers who have been following keenly, you have now understood that Islam does not in any way permit the killing of non-Muslims simply because of their faith. No. Islam advocates for peace. And we expect each and every Muslim, wherever you are, to be a peaceful maker. This marks the end of today's program. Thank you for tuning in. That is what we had all for you today. See you next time. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah.